إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اتبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So we're continuing in explanation of some of the details regarding Salah. And last class, or the several classes, we spoke about different things such as the adhan, and we went into some of the things which are required from the Salah, which we call the pillars. And we went into some of the things which are obligatory in the Salah, which known as the wajibat. We also went to the sunan. And one thing we didn't get to last time, and we'll just mention that now. Well, today actually we're going to talk about the description of the prayer. We're going to go one by one to the descriptions of prayer and of the Salah. But let us first begin with what's disliked in the prayer. We'll discuss that very briefly and just get into the main topic of today. And this topic will probably continue until next week. So let's see, we have here. Just give me a second to share the screen here. Okay, last week or last session, we spoke about what's recommended and we broke it down into those statements. And we said there are 11 statements. And the actions of Salah, which number 45, and we didn't list them out, but we'll speak about it when we get into descriptions of Salah. And just briefly, we'll mention three. There's several, but we'll see that there's, we'll mention today only three. And we're going to go through very quickly. The one turning, what is this like in the prayer for one praying to turn? So in other words, to slightly turn this way, that way, that's not something one should do. One should keep their eyes just looking right in front of them in the area where they're going to make sujood. And that's what's best. Majority of the scholars say that. Some scholars say you should look forward, but majority of us say that you should look down, the scholars. And then we have the second matter here, which is close your eyes. You shouldn't close your eyes in prayer. Do like you see some people do this. They feel that maybe they have some more. It's better for them. They're able to concentrate better, have khushu' or something like that. But it's something that should not be done in the salah. It's something that should be avoided. It's disliked. And by the way, any of these matters that are disliked, they are no longer disliked if there becomes a necessity. So if there's some sort of necessity, let's say somebody's eyes are burning and they have to close their eyes, and it will not be a disliked act in that instance. Also will not be touching pebbles in prayer. Let's say someone's on the floor and they're kind of just moving away some pebbles, just leave them. If you want to do that, do it before you start the salah. So it's something that's disliked. And there's other matters. We just mentioned a few of these here, based off the text which we were going off of, but Joni mentioned three, and there are others. So now we'll go today into the descriptions of the prayer. Let's go ahead and lower this first. And we have here, okay, here we go. Okay, the descriptions of Salah. All right, so here we have, excuse me, the description of Salah. So first of all, let me just say something about my slides here. If you see the red things there, we have red and we have blue. We have three different colors being used here. We have the red, the blue, and black letters here. So the red one stands for those things which are the rukn, or the pillar in the prayer, that we said before, that if one doesn't, as we said, if one purposely leaves them, their prayer is not accepted. And if they mistakenly leave them, their prayer is also not accepted. And the blue one are the wajibats, and those are the ones that you purposely leave them, then your prayer is not accepted. If you mistakenly leave them, then you have to make up that rak'ah, that unit of prayer. And so everything in black is actually recommended. So you could see it now all together. As we said before, we're going to bring it all together. The first matter here is that the imam standing, then the congregant who sees him when the prayer has been established is said, arranging the row, and it being said to the imam is preferred. So this is a preferred matter. What is preferred? First of all, the red is not preferred. That the standing, right? That the congregant who sees him when the prayer has been established is said, arranging the rows, and it said to the imam is preferred. So the prayer has been established. What does that mean? That means saying قَدْ قَامَتِ الصَّلَاةِ, right? You said no. قِيَام الْإِمَامِ مَأْمُومٌ قَدْ قَامَتِ الصَّلَاة. So actually, yeah, the standing here, well, I don't mean that one to be read, the one coming after that we've read, but standing when the person, when the, as we said before, let's go back. We have the imam, we have the congregant, the ma'mum, the one standing behind the imam, and then we have the person praying by themselves. So this is talking about a situation where, there's a jama'ah, there's a group prayer, and you have the congregant, and at the time that he hears or she قَدْ قَامَتِ الصَّلَاةِ, that meaning in English, the prayer has been established, one should stand at that point, right? It is preferred for someone at that point to stand up when they see the imam, or some say when they first see the imam, or at that point. And they should straighten the rows. That's another, arranging the rows, it says here, or straightening the rows. That is also a sunnah of the prayer. This is something that is sunnah here, meaning, by that I mean preferred, right? وَقُرْبُهُ مِنَ الْإِمَامِ, and trying to be as close to the imam as possible. Of course, you need a distance for you to make sujood and stuff, but you shouldn't have, a long distance between you and the imam. So if you're like two people behind an imam, you should just have enough distance so that you can make prostrate, and that's about it. Don't try to have too much of a space between you and the imam. And every row after that should be similarly. The one row, the one behind it should be close to the row in front of it. And by the way, and we didn't mention it here, but lining up, one should start from the middle and go towards the right and to the left. This is how the rows should be set up. And that once again is a recommended act. So the standing here, I don't really mean that one to be read, but the second one to be read. When standing. So it says, so when it says here while standing, he's to raise his hands level with his shoulders. 1 second here. Sorry about that. Okay, so we have here, while he's standing, as we said, the standing in the prayer is one of the rukn, is one of those things that you must do. There's no getting out of it. So one has, of course, there is exceptions if someone's legs are hurting so much that they're not able to stand, or, some other matter like that. And that issue actually came up today, somebody asking in some group online about, they're traveling, are they able to pray in the car? If it's the obligatory prayer, you have to stand up. If there's something that, that you're not able to stand up for whatever reason, and not because you just don't want to go out, or it might be raining, maybe go somewhere that's dry, or, something like that, or you're scared of the people, that people are going to be looking at you. So that's not an excuse. So standing, he raises his hand level with his shoulders, with his fingers extended together, and saying Allahu Akbar. So here we have two reds, as you see. So one has to say Allahu Akbar. This is called takbiratul ihram, the takbir of sanctity, or opening, the very first takbir, the very first saying of Allahu Akbar. Takbir being saying Allahu Akbar. So he raises his hand to his shoulders, kind of like that. And it's sunnah to have the fingers kind of together, not like this, to have them like that, and extend them together and say Allahu Akbar. So we have two things going on here: the standing, which is a must, and saying Allahu Akbar. The first thing being standing, the second one being Allahu Akbar, right? He raises them with two, and they should be extended. There's this is what is more authentic and has been consistent on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's also some hadith that he would go towards the ears like that, and some madhabs say some other things as well. Hanbali, excuse me, the Hanafi madhab saying touch the ear, but I don't know if I don't know if there are proofs for that. But for what I know, this is what has been consistently reported on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As I said, there's other stuff that's authentic and other stuff that we may have to research and look into. The imam should be loud enough for those behind him to hear him, just like in the tasmiyah. Let's talk about that there. Let's see what's in here. Okay. Oh, before I go there, let's say the imam should say loud enough to Allahu Akbar, so that those behind him can hear. Sometimes people are speaking very low. It should be loud enough. It doesn't have to be too loud, or like Allah, it's so loud that everybody, but it should be loud enough so that people standing or near him, either to his right, if it's just one person, or behind him, can hear him, right? So it says. And also we want to add to that when he's saying, every time he's going to say several times in the prayer, right? Allahu Akbar. So that as well, it should be loud enough so that they could hear him. Also doing the first tasneem, saying saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, that should be loud enough so that people can hear him. And reciting the first two prayers, the first two rak'ah, the first two units of dhuhr, and so, if someone's praying by themselves, that's a different matter now, right? If someone's by themselves, they should say it loud enough so that they themselves hear it. They shouldn't do it, just silently, but they should say loud enough. So the saying of Allahu Akbar, as we said here, is something that is a pillar. And so now we have to know how loud does that have to be? It just has to be loud enough, as we said, the one in a congregation, so that the others can hear him, and the one by himself, so that he himself or she himself hears him or herself saying Allahu Akbar. That's just how loud. Doesn't have, so anything less than that would not be acceptable. And the imam should be loud enough for those behind him and to hear him, just like in tasmiyah. We said that right here. That's what I just said in the salam, which is a pillar, saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and the recitation of the first two units of prayer behind the dhuhr. Everyone else should be heard by themselves, right? Everyone else should be heard by themselves. So, we dealt with that matter there. So that's that. You can see the picture there. Try to bring a picture there where he's raising his hand there to the shoulder, like just straight and facing. You see some mistakes you see some people doing like this, kind of like a karate chop or something like that. That's not what we should be doing. Some other people, you see them going up like they're making dua or something. It should be like with the palms straight, facing the qibla. And, they should be looking down, as we said, when they do that at the place of sujood. So that's something. Let's go to the next one here. Description of prayer. The left wrist is then clasped and placed under the navel while looking at the location of prostration. So, one can just go to clasp their wrist right there and hold it. That's one way of doing it. They could also put the whole hand over the hand and that. But not doing this. Some people, you see them doing this. I don't know, maybe some scholars have said that or something, but what I know to be correct is this or this, going out like this. So bring it towards the chest area, just below the navel, and that's what's been authentically reported from the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Excuse me. While looking at the place of prostration, as we said, we mentioned that looking at the place of prostration. There's other things that others say. Some other scholars say other places, to place it. but this is what we're going with here. Then silently, one should say, glory is to you, O Allah, and praise, blessed is your name, and exalted is your majesty. There is none worthy of worship but you. It said, followed by the prayer of refuge from shaitan and the mention of Allah's name, which is not part of Al-Fatiha. Okay, that's a lot there. Let's break that down there, right? So first of all, as you see, there's blue there. So we're saying that that is a wajibat. That is something that if you miss, I'm sorry, 1 second there. I don't know why I put that in blue. That's actually a sunnah to say Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika tabarak ismuk wa ta'ala jadduk wa la ilaha ghayruk. Excuse me, that there should not be blue. That is not. All this is just sunnahs to say silently, and silently here meaning. And anytime we say silent, when we're talking about the prayer, what does silently mean? Silently means that your lips should be moving. It isn't like sometimes in English we say silent, it's as if you're just thinking in your head, but one should say. So it should be, just maybe a slight sound someone can hear if they come up very close to you. It shouldn't be loud enough that you yourself hear, but just something less than that, just to the point where the lips are moving. So that will be any dhikr. I want to just keep this in mind, any dhikr. And I apologize for my coloring system there. It shouldn't be blue. That actually should be black, because that is a sunnah. So that's one sunnah we have there, right? It said followed by the prayer. And that is the translation of that. Once again, it's Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika wa tabarak ismuk wa ta'ala jadduk wa la ilaha ghayruk. And there are other reports as well. Thumma yasta'idh, right? Then he seeks refuge with shaitan. We said there's some difference from the scholars. Some don't accept that, but most do. That you say a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, right? And then you mention Allah's name. Mentioning here, we're trying to say mention Allah, which means say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And that is the majority of scholars say, well, not majority, but I mean, at least about half of this, at least many scholars we could say that one should say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And as far as saying it is a wajib, we have the Shafi'i school, which says that it is part of the prayer. Only that is something that is solely in that method that says that one should say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and that is part of Al-Fatiha. But majority of scholars say it is not obligatory to say that. All right, so we have two matters here. Is it a part of Fatiha, and should it be said? Right, so we have here ثم يقرأ الفاتحة مرتين مترتلة متوالية ثم انقطع بذكر أو تكون. Okay, let's continue. So it says here, Al-Fatiha is then recited consecutively. Now this is read. This is read, meaning once again that it is one of the things that are the pillars. Al-Fatiha is then recited consecutively in sequence. It must be repeated except by the congregant in prayer. So I'm sorry, that's to say it must not be repeated. So let's just fix that right now. It must not be repeated. And this one, we'll just change the color on that so as not to cause confusion. Okay. All right, so this is, we'll bring that back to the original color. I think that's kind of a grayish color. Let's see, sorry about that. It's more like this. Close enough. All right, we have, and then the Fatiha is recited consecutively in the prayer, right? So it must not be repeated except by the congregant in prayer if it is separated by some remembrance or lengthy unlegislated applause or germination or letter is missed. Okay, what do we mean by that? Right, so in other words, only the Imam, as we said, it's read, is a pillar upon him. Even if he forgets, he's, the prayer, if he forgets it, then the prayer is null and void. So this is something that must be done. It's a pillar. And so it must not be repeated. So one should not say, if they said Fatiha already, they shouldn't say it again. I mean, it's, okay, you already said it. Now you read something else from the Quran, right? And then it says if separated by something. So someone, it is a sunnah. It is, there is a sunnah there for someone to go ahead and recite if they're, once again, we have the imam, we have the congregant. So the congregant, it's not obligatory upon him, but it is recommended for him to recite Al-Fatiha as well. But when in which situation? In a situation that there's some sort of pauses, the imam, they has some sort of a pause, or, let's say between ayat or between Al-Fatiha and the surah that he recites after that, there's some sort of pause at that moment, he could go ahead and recite Al-Fatiha. But other than that, he shouldn't be reciting while the imam is reciting. So let's see here. And as you can see, he's there praying, and he's still standing, and he has his right hand over his left hand. Ameen is then said. So after that, he should say Ameen, right? Aloud in an audible voice, followed by the recitation of a chapter from Tilawatul Mufassal in Fajr, then Qisarul Mufassal in Maghrib, and from the Aswat al-Mufassal in the others. Reciting from any mushaf other than that of Uthman is not valid. What does that mean? Right? So let's see here. 1 second. Let me read from the Arabic here. Okay, he says out loud in the out loud prayers, right? The prayers that are done out loud, which are Fajr, Maghrib, and Isha. In those prayers, he should say Ameen, followed by, and that right there, Ameen should be said by both the one, or let's say, everybody. Either you're by yourself in the audible prayer, that is, or you're leading the prayer, and those that are following the imam should as well say it along with him. When he says Ameen, you should join him and say Ameen. After he starts, you should start and say Ameen. And that's only an out loud prayer. So it's not going to be in the Dhuhr. It's not going to be in the Asr prayer. Then he should recite, it says here, a surah. And let's get to that. In the Subh, which is the Fajr prayer, from the Tiwal al-Mufassal. What does that mean? Tiwal al-Mufassal. Okay, there's a section of the Quran, the Mufassal, first of all, is the last hizb of the Quran. The last hizb meaning, most people know the juz, right? The Quran can be broken up into 30 parts, all right? And then you take that 30 parts and you could break it up into 60. So each one broken into 2, right? And it is named this due to the many parts, or excuse me, many positions between the surahs and the ayats, right? And so we have 3 types of these, the tilawah. We have 3 types of that which is recited in the mufassal. We said the last hizb, or the last 30th of the Quran, or actually it probably here meaning juz. Here they mean juz, the last 30th of the Quran. And so we have short ones, we have long ones, and within this within this last juz of the Quran. The last juz is from Naba, right? Surah Naba all the way to Surah An-Nas, right? So that right there is the last juz of the Quran. And we have some that are long, some that are short, and those that are which are in between. So let's go back here. In the Fajr, we should recite from the Qisar al-Mufassal. Excuse me, recitation from the Tilawa. It says here, wait, I'm sorry. It says the Tiwal al-Mufassal. The Tiwal al-Mufassal. Okay, the Tiwal in the Fajr we should recite from those longest ones, and you would find that closest to the beginning of that juz, like Surah An-Naba, right? An-Nazi'at. These surahs there would be longer than other parts. So that is what should be recited in Fajr. And then the Qisar, which is the short ones of this last part of the Quran, is what should be recited in Maghrib, right? That's what should be recited. And in the rest of the prayers, right? What's the rest of the prayers? That would be Dhuhr, Asr, and Isha. One should recite from that which is in between, right? That which is in between. So the smallest, let's go back to what's in Maghrib. The smallest ones being like Surah An-Nas, Surah Al-Ahad, those, Surah Al-Fajr, those right there are the shortest parts of the Quran. And that is what is should be recited in al-Maghrib, the Maghrib Salah. And then we have the rest of the Salah, which is in between, something in between the longest parts and the shorter parts of that section of the Quran, that juz of the Quran, right? And that's what should be done. And we see people, we have some proof so that we see some people doing other than that now, reciting, but it's permissible. This is to recite other than that, maybe like in Ramadan, we're reciting, maybe people like to hear a lot of the Quran, but it all depends on, who are the people behind you. The Prophet Muhammad SAW told them not to go easy on the people. Perhaps there's women behind with children or something like that. People have places to go, they have to go to work, so you have to keep your, the people behind you, the congregates, in mind as well when you're doing this as well. So it's probably best just to stick to this. If you're able to do a little bit more, then it all depends on where you're at and the type of congregants you have. And it says, وَلَا تَصِحُّ بِقِرَاءَةٍ تَخْرُجُ عَنْ مُصْحَفِ عُثْمَانَ. This is an important point here. Recitation from any mushaf other than that of Uthman is not valid. What is the mushaf of Uthman? Basically, any Quran you see in our time today is the mushaf of Quran. Is based upon the mushaf that was gathered by Uthman radiallahu anhu, right? So you very rare that you would find something other than that, unless you're doing some deep research, and somewhere you're going to find in some book somewhere, something other than that. But what is available, it's sold in the the marketplaces, which you find in the masajid, what's distributed freely, the Quran, you won't find other than the Uthman. And that brings me to another point, because some people in certain places of the world, they think that the Uthmani mushaf here being the written Quran, what is written down. Some people think that a certain khat or a certain style of writing is referring to the Uthmani Quran. That is not correct, because actually at that time they didn't write like any of the styles you see today. It was actually called Kufi. It's actually before Kufi, when they had different styles. They had the Medinan style of Arabic, which is very kind of squarish, similar to what people know as Kufi type of print. Later on, once Kufi developed Hira, they had different type of so that is not referring to. Some people say, oh, this mushaf here is, it is not Uthmani, because look at the khat, look at the fonts that it has. No, that is not what is being referred to here. So keep that in mind. Let's continue here. So description of prayer, then one bows making takbir and raising both hands and places them on their knees with open fingers. The back and head should be level, and glory be to my Lord and the Magnificent is said 3 times. This is should here, excuse me. Glory be to my Lord and the Magnificent is said 3 times, and the least complete. Excuse me, 3 times is least complete. Okay, good. What does it say here? Takbir. So now one is standing. They finish saying Al-Fatiha, and they recite that surah after, which is that is recommended, to recite some surah after that, right? You shouldn't leave it, but if you do, your prayer is still accepted. So now one has to bow. What is called ruku'? So they're going from this picture here, which you see on the left there, to the right. They're going there, and let's go to that right here. Raising both hands. So we said these are 2 different actions, or 2 different things. Takbir, saying Allahu Akbar, and raising the hand. Raising the hand being a recommended act, and towards the shoulder length like that. And saying takbir, Allahu Akbar, is something, as you see, it's blue there. It should be blue there, meaning that it is something that is a wajibat, that if one misses it mistakenly, only mistakenly, then they can make it up with the prostration of forgetfulness at the end, right? And so they do that. They say Allahu Akbar, and at the same time, by the way, placing them on it. So, by the way, I want to mention that while one says Allahu Akbar, it should be during the whole time of raising the hand. From the point once you start lifting your hand, right? Once you start lifting that hand there to once you start saying Allah, and should try to measure it out so it goes Allahu Akbar, so that you're ending Akbar, that Ra there, when the hands are brought down. Placing them on their knees with open hands. So in the opposite of raising, we said these hands should kind of be together and spread out. Now they should be cupped around the knees, like holding it like that. They should be spread out over the knee like that. So it says they're on their knees with open fingers. The back and head should be level. As you see there in the picture, it's very level. If we were to put like a cup of water on this person's back, it would just stay still and not spill. That is what is the sunnah, what is recommended. What one should be, at least to the point where the hands can touch to the knee. He might be a bit more than that, but this is what is recommended. This is what the Prophet Muhammad did. And as he said, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Pray as you have seen me pray. It says here the back should be able. And glory be to my Lord the Magnificent. Sami Allahu liman hamida. That's the translation of, and we should say in Arabic, Sami Allahu liman hamida. So right, the back and the head say, I'm sorry, that would be Subhana Rabbil Azim. Subhana Rabbil Azim. That there, glory be to my Lord, is saying Subhana Rabbil Azim. And you should say that, as we mentioned before, one time is what is mandated, what one should do at the very least. And 3 is the least complete. So you could do 3. So 2 and 3 will be recommended. That is what's least complete. You could do more than that, like 5. You could do 7. You could do 9. But the very least of what will be completion of that sunnah act, of that recommended act, meaning here, is to do it at least 3 times. Look at here. Now we have the imam and the individual raise both their hands, head and hands, saying, Allah hears whoever praises him. Right? Rabbina wa lakal hamd. Let's change the color to that. I apologize. So we have here Allah. So this right here is saying Sami Allahu liman hamida. No, we don't want that blue. We want a different blue here. Yeah. So let's go back. So they stand again, standing there. You see, it's red. It's one of the pillars of prayer. And so now we're going from the left position, the left picture there, to the middle position. They go from and at the whole time, one should try to be looking at the place of prostration and come up and once again raise the hand as well. They stand, they say, "O Allah, to you belongs all praise. Sami Allahu liman hamida." We say that in Arabic. A praise that fills the heavens and earth and whatever else you please. And at the very least, you should say Sami Allahu liman hamida. Right? So إذا قام. And as we said, does it say it here? Okay, that is for the imam to say that. To say Sami Allahu liman hamida. So they say Sami Allahu liman hamida. They say Allah hears whoever praises him. Then they stand, the congregants, and they say, "Our Lord, to you belongs all praise. Rabbina lakal hamd. Mala'u sama." So that saying there is of the congregant. They stand. They have to stand now, which is an obligation for them to stand, a pillar, and the wajibat, the obligation there for them to say, "Our Lord, to you belongs our praise," a praise that fills the heavens and earth. That to say the rest of that, mala'ul ardi wa mala'u ma shi'ta min shay'in ba'da. That right there is a recommended. I mean, you could add that if you want to, but you don't have to. وَمَأْمُونَ فِي رَفْعِ رَبِّنَا وَلَكَ الْحَمْدُ فَقَط. When the congregant rises, only "Our Lord, to you belongs all praise" is said. So that's for the imam. So once again, the imam and the one individually is the one who says Sami Allahu liman hamida, and the congregant behind them says Rabbina wa lakal hamd. To you belong all praise. Right. All right, let's continue. So before I continue, you see there that they move from this position to the standing position again, and then while you're standing again, and while you're saying Rabbana wa karham, there's two things you could do. Some scholars say you could put your hands over again, left to right, put them just below the navel, or you could just leave them by your side. Right, either way, one can do. So let's continue here. Okay, yeah, we're gonna stop at this point now, inshallah, and we're gonna continue next time, hopefully, inshallah, next week. Today we're leaving kind of short. I think we did about a half an hour here, and we'll take any questions. Please, if you have any questions, utilize the question area on wherever this is being shared. This is once again the NHIEC Dawah Committee. It's either going to be on the Facebook page. It might someone else might have shared it, but it's where you can find the NHIEC, which stands for North Hudson Islamic Education Center, or it could be on the YouTube. Perhaps this might be seen as YouTube. So just ask any questions or anything. We'll try to get back to you. We could ask on my page. Ask me on my page. That's Danny Salgado, Salgado. And that's all for today. Jazakallah khairan. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.